Urjaswati was married to Shukracharya, and Shukracharya had a daughter named Devyani. Okay, so the next verse. My dear king, a devotee who has taken shelter of the dust of from the lotus feet of the Lord can transcend the influence of the six material waves, namely hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age, and death. And we have the example of Parikshit Maharaj, who at least for 7 days transcended hunger and thirst. So, and also one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord will get out of this material world where all these things are there, old age, death. So, in that way, also one transcends, one goes beyond this, and he can conquer the mind and five senses. So, if we take shelter of Krishna, we can conquer our mind and the senses. We'll become a Goswami. Goswami means one who has mastered his mind and the senses. By taking shelter of Krishna, we can control, we can conquer the mind. However, this is not very wonderful because Krishna helps uh, and Krishna gives a higher taste and all that. So, in this way, the mind can be conquered. And we will realize the futility of material life more and more. Krishna gives us the realization. We'll come to realize we are not this body, we are not this mind, we are spirit soul, and spirit soul has its own spiritual mind. So those realizations will come more and more by Krishna's mercy. So then you can conquer. However, this is not very wonderful for a pure devotee of the Lord because even a person beyond the jurisdiction of the four castes, in other words, an untouchable, is immediately relieved of bondage to material existence if he utters the holy name of the Lord even once. So, yan namadheyam adhuna, immediately. Adhuna means now, immediately. Sajahati bandham. So, bandham is bondage and jahati gives up. Okay, so by chanting the holy name in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, once material existence is finished. And this is the essence, right? Once chanting the holy name, what is the verse? Chanting the holy names once material existence is finished. We can take that verse for tomorrow. You know the verse. Sansara Mochan, something like that.
Okay. Yes. કૃષ્ણ મંત્ર હોયતે હવે સંસાર મોચન કૃષ્ણ નામ હોયતે પાવે કૃષ્ણેરા ચરણ. So this is CC Adi 7.73.
One can obtain freedom from material. So we'll take this verse for tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
I don't remember, but if you have another, I'll take this. Krishna mantra hoite hobe sansara mochan. So Krishna mantra hoite hobe sansar mochan. So one will become free from sansar simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord. And Krishna Nam hoite pabe Krishnera charan. It's easy verse. So we have to keep chanting Hare Krishna and all our anarthas, everything will, and try to avoid the offenses. Actually, chanting also helps us avoid the offenses because when we chant the holy name, our heart becomes clean. And if we are chanting attentively, then when our heart becomes clean, then there is no more offenses. Because all the offenses are due to pride, envy, lust, and all these things. So, as we chant the holy name and we pray to Krishna, then, like yesterday, right? Prabhu was saying we have to pray to Krishna. Uh, so then, chanting itself is a prayer. And if we chant in that consciousness, then, yeah, we'll become free. So we should have faith that by chanting the holy name of the Lord, I will attain all success. So, so that faith will come when we have some experience also. So, like when we feel that it's so nice, this chanting of the holy name, it has helped me so much, then we'll get more faith in this chanting. So, I think many are saying like that. I think Charuta was saying, Charuta is there on the call, I don't know if she's there, how she has observed a difference in her life by chanting the holy name. So, so we should chant the holy name. So these are some verses 15.107. These are all. This is when Lord Chaitanya is meeting all the devotees of Kulina Gram. So we'll read some verses from here. Satyaraj Khan said, "My dear Lord, being a householder and materialistic man, I do not know the process of advancing in spiritual life. I therefore submit myself unto your lotus feet and request you to give me orders." So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "Without cessation, continue chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna. Whenever possible, serve him and his devotees, the Vaishnavas." Then he's saying, Satyaraj Khan is saying, I am a materialist person, I am householder. I do not know how to advance in spiritual life. And then Mahaprabhu is saying that chant Hare Krishna constantly and worship and serve the devotees, serve Krishna and his devotees. Then he's saying, but how do I recognize who is a Vaishnava? Because he says, serve him and his devotees, the Vaishnava. Who is a Vaishnava? Please let me know what a Vaishnava is. What are his common symptoms? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, whoever chants the holy name of Krishna just once is worshipable and is the topmost human being. So in the nectar of instruction also it is said, one should mentally honor the person who is chanting the holy name of Krishna. And one should offer obeisances to that person who has undergone diksha like that. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna once, a person is relieved from all reactions of sinful life. One can complete the process simply by devotional service, simply by chanting. Eka Krishna name kare sarva papa shoy, navavida bhakti purna naam hoite hoy. So all 9 processes of devotional service are complete simply by chanting. So means if you do kirtanam, then shravanam, obviously you're chanting and hearing. Then smaranam is done, vandanam, everything is included in the chanting of the holy name. One does not have to undergo initiation or execute the activities required before initiation. One simply has to vibrate the holy name with his lips. Thus, even a man in the lowest class can be delivered. So it doesn't wait for anything. Holy name. Diksha Purasharya Vidhi Apeksha Nakore Jiva Sparshe A Chandala Sabare Uddhare. Purasharya, Diksha Purasharya Vidhi Apeksha. Apeksha means it does not expect that all these things, does not rely on. Jiva Sparshe A Chandal Sabare Uddhare. Whoever chants the holy name. So Then he says, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one dissolves his entanglement in material activities. After this, one becomes very much attracted to Krishna, and thus dormant love for Krishna is awakened. Anusanga phale kare sansare rashoy, chitta akarshiya karay Krishna premoday. Chitta means consciousness, akarshiya means attracted. The holy name of Krishna attracts our consciousness. One becomes very much attracted to Krishna. Karay Krishna premoday, uday. The love of Krishna rises in the heart. Then this verse. Akrishti krita chetasam sumanasam ucchatanam chamhasam achandalam mukaloka sulabho vasyasya mukti shriya no diksham na cha satkriyam na cha purusharyam anagikshate mantroyam rasana sprigeva falati Shri Krishna namatmakaha. The holy name of Lord Krishna is an attractive feature for many saintly liberal people. So those who are saintly, they are attracted to holy name. It is the annihilator of all sinful reactions. So, Hasam, okay, and is so powerful that save for the dumb who cannot chant it, it is readily available to everyone, including the lowest type of man, the Chandal. The holy name of Krishna. So we should be very grateful to Krishna that we can chant the holy name. There are many people who can't chant the holy name because they are not able to speak. So it is saying, but even they can be delivered if they hear the holy name or they remember the holy name or Krishna like that. It is readily available to everyone, including the lowest type of man, the Chandal. The holy name of Krishna is the controller of the opulence of liberation. It is identical with Krishna. When a person simply chants the holy name with his tongue, immediate effects are produced. Chanting the holy name does not depend on initiation, pious activities, or the Purashariya regulative principles generally observed before initiation. The holy name does not wait for any of these activities, it is self sufficient. So, so it is saying that. And then Ateva Yara Mukhe Eka Krishnanam Saita Vaishnava Kori Tahara Samman. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that finally advised one who is chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is understood to be a Vaishnava, therefore you should offer all respects to him. So he was asked who is a Vaishnava, so in that. Okay. Alright, so which
Yeah,
verse?
verses are nice. We can memorize this section that you read.
Yeah. Okay. You can memorize some verses from this chapter.
It's four verses 107, 108, 109, 110.
Eka Krishna Nama Kore Sarva Papa Shoy Navavida Bhakti Purna Nam Bhakti Hoy, that word.
We already know that. 108.
Mano Diksha Purashyare Vidhi Apeksha Na Kore Jiva Sparshe Achandala Sabare Uddhare. Okay.
109 and 110. Although they are kind of similar.
Hmm. All right.
110 also, I think we had memorized this Akrishti Kritachitasam. But we can revise it.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Like 108, 110 are talking about the same thing. The lowest class Chandalas will be delivered
Hmm.
and does not wait for initiation.
Okay. So we'll take from 15:107. Okay. So, in other words, an untouchable is immediately relieved of bondage to material existence if he utters the holy name of the Lord even once. Naivam vida purusha kara urukramasya pumsad pumsam tadangri rajasa chitta satgunanam gunanam chitram vidura vigata sakrit adadadita yannamadheya madhuna sajahati bandham. Okay, so Shukdev Goswami was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit about the activities of King Priyavrata. And since the king might have had doubts about these wonderful uncommon activities, Shukdev Goswami reassured him, "My dear king," he said, "don't be doubtful about the wonderful activities of Priyavrata." So he wanted to create light where it was dark and so many things. He was with his chariot, he was going around and he was illuminating so many things. He said, so somebody may have doubts. So Prabhupada is saying, don't be, Shukdev Goswami is convincing him that don't be doubtful because he has taken shelter of the Lord. And for a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything is possible because the Lord is known as Urukrama. Krama means step and Uru means big. One who has big steps, that is Vamandev. Or Krama also means activities. One whose activities are very big. Urukrama is name for Lord or wonderful. Vamandev, who performed the wonderful act of occupying the three worlds with three footsteps. Lord Vamandev requested 3 pieces of land from Maharaj Bali. And when Maharaj Bali agreed to grant them, the Lord immediately covered the entire world with 2 footsteps. For his third step, he placed his foot upon Bali Maharaj's head. Sri Jayadev Goswami says, Chalayasi Vikramane Balimadbhutavaman Padanakhani Rajani Tachana Pavan Keshavadhrita Vamana Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. Chala means by cheating. So Balim, Vikramane. Vikram means very wonderful. Vikramane. Balim Adbhuta Vaman. So Adbhut means wonderful. Pada Nakha Nira. So he with the nails of his feet. Nira means water. Janita Jana Pavan. So that water, the water that touched the nails of your lotus feet, when you pierce through the coverings of the universe, purifies all the living. Jana Pavan, so everybody is purified. That is Ganga water, purifies all living entities in the form of the river Ganges. All glories to Lord Keshav, who assumed the form of a dwarf. O Lord of the universe, who take away everything inauspicious to the devotees. O wonderful Vamandev, you tricked the great demon Bali Maharaj by your steps. The water that touched the nails of your lotus feet when you pierce through the coverings of the universe purifies all living entities in the form of the river Ganges. So it is the water of the causal ocean that came down. And it is also when Brahma saw, he put his water from his kamandalu to wash the lotus feet of the Lord. So that is also there. And the water from the causal ocean. It all washed the feet of Lord Vamandev and it came down as Ganges. Since the Supreme Lord is all powerful, he can do things that seem wonderful for a common man. So Krishna can do anything. So that's why there can be nothing impossible for Krishna. He can do anything. That is the definition of God. God can do anything. So most of the time uh, we may not be able to believe or accept how God can do this, how God created universe from the pores of his body, all these things. So big, big activities. How he can lift Govardhan Hill. So all these things are very difficult to, because we have limited capacities and we can't do anything like that. So we should not doubt like that, that God, because we think that everything should be done according to like our capabilities and physical laws, but Krishna can change anything. So Prabhupada says he can make stones float like Lord Ramchandra. He knows the weightlessness. Some lecture Prabhupada was saying, he was saying like that. Prabhupada said that Krishna can make everything weightless. So if he wants, he's the expert scientist. So he can do anything. Okay. All the laws are working under his direction. So we have all the laws, right? So different laws of gravitation and everything. Everything is working because Krishna has designed it. One Nobel laureate said, why nature is mathematical is a mystery. But it is mathematical, there's laws because it was designed by Krishna. So, so scientific laws, and he can change also the laws. So, so that is how we should think. He's floating these planets in the air, right? Like swabs of cotton. So in the first canto, third chapter, verse 22, purport, Prabhupada says, because Lord Ramchandra was the personality of Godhead, he exhibited superhuman activities which no human being, including the materially advanced Ravana, could perform. Lord Ramchandra prepared a royal road on the Indian Ocean with stones that floated on the water. The modern scientists have done research in the area of weightlessness, but it is not possible to bring in weightlessness anywhere and everywhere. But because weightlessness is the creation of the Lord by which he can make the gigantic planets fly and float in the air. So a big, huge earth is like in the air, right? I mean, we don't see anything holding it. It is just floating in space and it's moving about in space. So it's flying, fly and float in the air. It's moving also. He made the stones, even within this earth, to be weightless. And prepared a stone bridge on the sea without any supporting pillar. There was no pillars to support the stones. Like when you have bridge, you have big, big pillars. That is a display of power of God. So, so like that. So Krishna was holding the Govardhan hill also. So here Prabhupada was saying this lecture. Oh, God is doing like that. God is lifting hill. How is it possible? This is story. How? Why it is story? God is omnipotent and God cannot lift a hill. He is floating so many plates, planets in the air, weightlessness, and he cannot lift a hill. So, okay, so that's what is the power of God. But Krishna's pastimes are sweet in Vrindavan because he behaves like an ordinary child. He can do everything and anything, but he is struggling. He's struggling to lift the shoes or the slippers of Nanda Baba on his head. And I think they had asked him to also move a wooden plank or something, and Krishna is struggling as if he's stressed out like that. He's trying to lift things. So this is why it becomes very attractive. Since the Supreme Lord is all powerful, he can do things that seem wonderful for a common man. Similarly, a devotee who has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord can also do wonderful things unimaginable to a common man by the grace of the dust of those lotus feet. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore teaches us to take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. Ainandatanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam buddho कृपया तव पाद पंकजा स्थितादुली सदृशम विचिंतया. O son of Nanda Maharaj, Nanda Tanuja means son of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna. We say, O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna. Kinkaram, I am servant, I am your eternal servant. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Patitam means fallen. Mam. Vishame Bhavam Buddho. Bhavam Buddho is the ocean of birth and death. I have fallen. Somehow or other means we don't know exactly when we fell down in this. Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja. So mercy, Kripa. You show your, Tava means your. Pada Pankaja is the lotus feet. Pankaj is lotus and Pad feet. And Sthita means let me be situated at your lotus feet. Dhuli, dhuli means dust. Sadrisham is a particle. Vichintaya, I consider myself as. So, consider me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet, particle of dust at your lotus feet. O son of Nanda Maharaj, I am your eternal servant, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet, or one of the atoms of your lotus feet. Lord Chaitanya teaches us to come in touch with the dust of the Lord's lotus feet, for then there will be undoubtedly be all success. Means to serve the Lord menially, as the meaning of to come in touch with the lotus feet of the Lord. Because of the material body, every living entity in material existence is always disturbed by Shad Guna, six problems, six waves. Hunger, so we are feeling hungry, we feel thirsty. There is lamentation, there is illusion, invalidity or old age, and death. So these are the six problems in material existence: hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, invalidity, and death. Furthermore, another sadgun, shadgun, are the mind and the five sense organs. So another way is the six senses. Not to speak of a sanctified devotee, even a chandala, an outcast who is untouchable, is immediately freed from material bondage if he utters the holy name of the Lord even once. Sometimes caste brahmanas argue that unless one changes his body, he cannot be accepted as a brahmana. So they say, no, no, you can't be a brahmana until you take birth in a brahman family. We cannot accept you. There's some caste brahmanas say like that. For since the present body is obtained as a result of past action, one who has in the past acted as a brahmana takes birth in a brahman family. Therefore, they contend without such a brahminical body, one cannot be accepted as a brahmana. Herein it is said, however, that even a vidura vigata, a chandala, a fifth class untouchable, is freed if he utters the holy name even once. Vidura vigata. Being freed means that he immediately changes his body. Sanatana Goswami confirms this. Yatha kanchanatam yati. Yatha means just like. Kanchana, kanchan is gold. Kanchanatam yati. Kansyam rasa vidhanatah. Tatha diksha vidhanena dvijatvam jayate nृणा. So, what is the meaning? Is that when a person, even though a chandala, is initiated by a pure devotee into chanting the holy name of the Lord, his body changes as he follows the instructions of the spiritual master. Dvijatam jayate nृणाम. Just as I think what is transformed into gold, right? What is the meaning of this? It's not given somewhere, maybe given this meaning. Let's see. By chemical manipulation, bell metal is turned into gold. when touched by mercury. Similarly, when a person is properly initiated, he can acquire the qualities of a Brahmana. Okay. When a person, even though a Chandal, is initiated by okay, although one cannot see how his body has changed, we must accept on the grounds of the authoritative statements of the Shastras that he changes his body. This is to be understood without arguments. This verse clearly says, Sajahati Bandham. He gives up his material bondage. This body is a symbolic representation of material bondage according to one's karma. So, our body that we have got now is a result of our past karma. Although sometimes we cannot see the gross body changing, chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord immediately changes the subtle body. So it changes our mind, our intelligence and ego. The chanting of the holy name changes the internal subtle body. And because the subtle body changes, the living entity is immediately freed from material bondage. So once the mind changes, then mind is the cause of liberation. Mind is the cause of entanglement. So the mind becomes Krishna conscious. Then you're liberated from material bondage. Antakale chamameva smaranukva kalevaram. Ya prayati samadbhavam yati nashtiyatra sanchaya. After all, changes of the gross body are conducted by the subtle body. Shrotram chakshum sparshanam cha. Shrotram chakshum sparshanam cha rasanam.
Grahanamev cha.
Ishtaya manaschayam. Upasevayam.
Vishyanupasevati.
Vishyanupasevate. Yeah. So our body, subtle body, according to our mind, we get our gross body. So if we make our mind Krishna conscious, then we'll get spiritual body. After the destruction of the gross body, the subtle body takes the living entity from its present gross body to another. So it is not so, it doesn't happen overnight, it takes some time. Like yesterday, Prabhu was saying, we are in this material world for millions of lifetimes. So it's not going to suddenly happen. So, but we have to keep chanting Hare Krishna. Then the change of subtle body will happen. And the more we chant nicely and attentively, the more the change of subtle body will happen. So Prabhupada said that at least 16 rounds, but we can chant more also when we have time. And just Prabhupada says, any place you can sit down and chant Hare Krishna and hear the sound vibration, and that will change our subtle body. It's a very mystical thing how it happens. But if we are in tune with the sound of Hare Krishna mantra, we are hearing nicely. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Then that sound will change our consciousness. After the destruction of the gross body, the subtle body takes the living entity from its present gross body to another. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 15th chapter, Krishna is saying how the subtle body takes the soul to the next gross body. And he says that the intelligent people can see this, but those who are not trained in knowledge, they cannot perceive this. Right? He says like that. There is a verse like that in the 15th chapter, which we can also take to memorize. It's a nice verse. It talks about how the subtle body carries. Of course, we have Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavam Tijanti Ante Kalevaram also. That verse also is like that. And this verse, the living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Yeah, doesn't say directly the subtle body, but he carries his life conceptions from one body to another. And then this is the verse we memorized. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor they can understand. Okay, so Shariram yad avapnoti yad chapi utkramitisvaraha grihitvaitani sanyati vayur gandhan ivashayat. Just as Vayu carries Gandha, the fragrance, very subtly. So the soul is carried by the subtle body to the next cross body. And nobody can see the soul coming out of somebody's body and how it is being carried over. Just as we cannot see the fragrance that is carried by the air. We can't see. We can just, when we smell, we can say, oh, this is very perfume. Somebody has put perfume. Like in my office, I remember somebody will come. We will know that that person has come because even we didn't see the person, because there is some scent in the air, and we know, oh, this person has come because they put the same perfume every day. So we know this person has come like that. So it is, we can't see how the smell is carried through the air into our nose. Similarly, the soul, how it takes, how it goes to the next cross body, we can't see. It is so subtly carried by the subtle body, and that is the transmigration happening. So that's what Prabhupada is saying here. So this, after all, the changes of cross body are conducted by the subtle body. So our thoughts create our next body. Prabhupada writes in Coming Back book, our thoughts create our next body, which is a passage from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So he says how mental things transform into gross things as soon as there is an opportunity. So everything is conceived in the mind first. Even our desires are first conceived in the mind, and then we act on those desires, and then what happens? We get our, so here is a lot of things in Coming Back book. So here it says, your thoughts create your next body. That subtle form exists in ether has been proven by modern science by transmission of television. So by television transmission, we get, if a match is being played in Australia and we are in America, Australia is very far, but we can get the same match that is happening, how through the waves. The pictures are being transmitted through the waves, by which forms or photographs of one place are. So in ether, images are like I send you a photograph, right, wirelessly. I text you or WhatsApp you from my cell phone. I'm sending you a picture, and you are receiving the same picture on your phone. You are not connected. I am not even connected to anything. It's just my phone. So what is happening through space? It is through the waves. It is being, whatever it is happening. The picture is being converted, and then it's going to some transmitter somewhere. Then it's transmitted back. So it is all going through space. So photographs are being transmitted through space. So Prabhupada is saying television or cell phones, so many things are being sent. One place are transmitted to another place by the action of the ethereal element. Within the Srimad Bhagavatam is the potential basis of great scientific research work, for it explains how subtle forms are generated from the ethereal element. So from the subtle elements, more gross things are generated. So picture we can see, ethereal element we cannot see, but they are transmitted through what their characteristics are and actions are, and how the tangible elements, namely air, fire, water, and earth, are manifested from the subtle form. Mental activities or psychological activities of thinking, feeling, and willing are also activities on the platform of ethereal existence. So in our mind, right, we are thinking and making so many pictures and so many things. So it is happening in the ethereal existence. The statement in Bhagavad Gita that mental situation at the time of death is the basis of next birth is also corroborated in many places in the Bhagavatam. Mental existence transforms into tangible form as soon as there is an opportunity. So this is a great science, right? How so nicely Prabhupada is explaining that how different people are getting birth in different bodies, different species of life. It's all happening through the mind and like that. Okay, so in the subtle body, After the destruction of the gross body, the subtle body takes the living entity from its present gross body to another. In the subtle body, the mind is predominant, and therefore, if one's mind is always absorbed in remembering the activities or lotus feet of the Lord, he is to be understood to have already changed his present body and become purified. So we are where our mind is, and if mind is already thinking of Krishna, then we are in the spiritual world. Yeah.
Hello, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I just have one question. So you said like our birth determines our previous birth, how we are thinking, and that determines our next birth. So I'm just asking how long this thinking mode, like for how long we have to be in a certain mode of thought so that to get the certain birth. Suppose a person is negative by nature, and suddenly he or she becomes positive by nature, like in last 10 years of his life. So does that mean all his 50 years of negative karma will cut off, and the last 10 years of positive karma will add into the next life, or there is a time? I just wanted to ask what's the time scenario of our mode of thinking to get birth in the next life.
Somebody want to answer this question? How long it takes?
Mm, It's
Krishna
not
says
about.
last 100.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Antakali Chamameva. It's not about the length of how much we have done Krishna consciousness. Even a moment of surrender can take us back home, back to Godhead. So
but
what
but
we
in
remember.
that way all the people who has done sin, if they know that okay, all my life I will do whatever I like, but at the end moment of time for the last year, last 2 3 years, if I do Krishna consciousness, if I be in the Krishna consciousness, then I'll have a positive birth in the next life. Does that not sound kind of playful activities by people?
Yeah, but that's it's not a mechanical process. You have to have developed your love for Krishna. Then that takes time and practice. Over many many years, we develop that. And in a moment of surrender means that we have given up all material attachments. We are surrendering to Krishna way. So it's not a mechanical process that I start thinking of Krishna. I will develop love for him, and at the end of my life, I can go back
It
home. They
should be
will not be
authentic.
able
You are
to.
saying it should be authentic.
Yeah, and Krishna knows our heart. We may be chanting Hare Krishna outside externally, but our mind may be thinking of so many other things. It's what
Oh,
matters is where our mind is. So to
yeah. Okay, I got it.
But we have an example in Bhagavatam stories also, like Bharat Maharaj. He was at the time of like last time he was thinking of the deer, so he got a birth of a deer. But yes, he did the devotional service, so he remember everything, being in the deer body. And in case of Ajamil, at the end of the life, he chanted the name of Narayan, so he got the chance to do more bhakti. So, I mean, basically, even Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita that what is the state of your mind at the time of leaving the body? Even example of a Katvanga Maharaj. But I read that he was devotee, but at the moment of at the deathbed, he was turned to in that consciousness, right? So, on I mean, I think like that the only matter is the where is your mind, as Mataji was saying, at the time of leaving the body, as per these examples.
So generally, it's not easy to think in, like you can say, now 70 years I have not thought of Krishna or nothing. And then now suddenly, it's for the last 2 years I'll dedicate my life. It is not so easy because the mind will not be in tune. So, so we have to do it from the beginning. Some people say like that, but it's not so easy like that, right? Otherwise, all old people who are going to die, they would be all very interested in Krishna consciousness, and they would be all very much, yeah, thinking and doing service to Krishna and like that. But it's not happening like that.
The
or
body becomes old, but the heart remains young, and so the material desires still continue in the old body.
that attraction to Krishna can come about if Krishna desires. He can do anything. Like Ajamil spent so many years, but then he realized and he had a transformation of heart. It can happen, but it has to be a transformation of heart from within. And then Krishna is merciful also. He overlooks also many things you may have done in your past. But yeah, we have to connect with him. So generally we
Got it.
say, yeah,
I got it, bro.
yeah. So
So Prahlad Maharaj says that bhakti should start from the very young age, 5 years. Ko Maharaj Charita Prapti. Very
so
easy to learn in young age, right? Because that's why we go to colleges and schools in young age, not in old age.
yeah. And if you are already old,
Nobody will give us admission also in the old age.
Mhm.
but Krishna is very kind also. So even if a late beginner can also attain perfection, even at the moment of death. But yeah, that person has to feel like that. That no, I'll surrender to Krishna, and it's like Krishna is my shelter. So, devotional service is not limited by time and space. So anytime Prabhupada says you can surrender in a moment. So any moment you can decide that yeah. So that is also there. But generally we should think like that. Yeah. If you have an exam, we don't want to wait till the last moment. We want to prepare from the beginning. Or that last moment also, maybe 10 days before the exam, you can prepare and you can pass. Maybe you get the questions that you prepared, but still we should prepare like that. So we have to. So we should take this as an important thing and chant Hare Krishna like that. Whatever it requires, because ultimately the success of our life is that we don't have to accept another body, but we go back to the spiritual world. That is considered the success of life. So our whole life should be geared towards that, about how I can. Of course, that is also not the goal. The goal is to awaken love for Krishna. So to become attracted to Krishna. So that is the goal, and then everything else will happen. So we have to see that how my love for God is awakening. So we can all internally evaluate, you know, and see how much I'm feeling. And if you're not, then it's okay. You should not be discouraged. That means we have to do more attentively and more nicely and more and pray to Krishna. Please give me some taste. I want to become attracted to you, Krishna, more and more. So please help me. I want to do service to you. Okay, so like that.
And the faster we surrender, more joyful we will become while living in the material world also. Because the bhakti process is susukham kartam avyayam. For a devotee, jivo va maro va, whether he lives or he dies, there is no difference. He sees Krishna everywhere. For him, everything is a spiritual world. So it's not just about at the point of death going back to Krishna. Is when while you're living in this material world, you're living with Krishna.
So we have to experience that taste in bhakti. So we'll feel so this process itself is sukham kartum avyayam. This chanting japa is so nice. This hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is so nice. This serving is so nice. So like that we have to feel the taste in our heart. Like that. So it's an experience that we want. Because it is said that this is so joyful. So we want to be joyful. And after all, changes of the gross body are conducted by the subtle body. After the destruction of the gross body, The subtle body takes the living entity from its present gross body to another. So we have to monitor our subtle body, our thinking, feeling, and direct it towards Krishna. In the subtle body, the mind is predominant. And therefore, if one's mind is always absorbed in remembering the activities of or the lotus feet of the Lord, is understood have to have already changed this present body and become purified. So now somebody may say, well, if I always think about Krishna, then how will I be able to, work, practically live in this world? So that's why we have to dovetail our activities for Krishna's service. So we can do some activity, and then while doing the activity we remember Krishna. And then, so not only when we are chanting we remember, but when we are doing other activities also, we can remember Krishna, or hear about Krishna, chant his name. What is that? Khaite suite yatha tatha namlo. Khaite suite. Desha kal.
काल देश नियम नहीं सर्व सिद्धि होय.
Kala desha. Okay, so we have to see how much remembering Krishna. Yeah, therefore it is irrefutable that a Chandala or any fallen or low-born person can become a Brahmana simply by the method of bona fide initiation. Okay, it's 8:43. Yeah, I will just read the verses today. It's like I started at 8:50 or so, 7:50. So read one more verse and then stop. While enjoying his material opulences with full strength and influence, Maharaj Priyavrata once began to consider that although he had fully surrendered to the great saint Narada and was actually on the path of Krishna consciousness, he had somehow become again entangled in material activities. Thus his mind now became restless and he began to speak in a spirit of renunciation. So again Narad Muni's teaching started coming back. But Prabhupada said before that he was remembering Krishna even while he was doing his duty. So Bhishma also like that. Bhishma was a pure devotee, but he says in his prayers, now let me focus my mind on Krishna. Right, in his prayers he says like that. Okay, now that I am about to die, or of course he had the boon of leaving his body whenever he liked. So
1932.
1932. Yeah, so Prabhupada writes in that purport. Then let's see, 1932. Shri Bhishma Uvacha Iti Matir Upakallpita Vitrishna Bhagavati Satvata Pungave Vibhumni Swasukham Upagate Kvachid Vihartu Prakritim Peyushi Yad Bhava Pravaha. Bhishmadev said, let me now invest my thinking, feeling and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties. So he was in the king's palace, right? So he had to think of so many things. In the all-powerful Lord Shri Krishna, he is always satisfied, but sometimes being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world, although from him only the material world is created. So he enjoys in the spiritual world, but he sometimes comes down to the material world. And there also he enjoys, whether in spiritual world and because Bhishma Dev was a statesman, the head of Kuru dynasty, a great general and a leader of Kshatriyas. His mind was strewn over so many subjects, and his thinking, feeling, and willing were engaged in different matters. So he was thinking about so many things. Now, in order to achieve pure devotional service, he wanted to invest all powers of thinking, feeling, and willing entirely in the Supreme Being, Lord Krishna. He is described herein as the leader of the devotees and all powerful. So Krishna is described as the leader of devotees and is all powerful. Although Lord Krishna is the original personality of God, he himself descends to the earth to bestow upon his pure devotees the boon of devotional service. It descends sometimes as Lord Krishna as he is, and sometimes as Lord Chaitanya. So, as Lord Chaitanya, Krishna is teaching how to become a devotee. Because as we are hearing Hari Parshad Prabhu was saying, Krishna is saying so many things, don't become angry, but he's becoming angry in Vrindavan. So he's not a good example. So he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Both are leaders of the pure devotees. Pure devotees of the Lord have no desire other than the service of the Lord, and therefore they are called Satvata. The Lord is chief among such Sattvatas. Bhishmadev therefore had no other desires. Unless one is purified from all sorts of material desires, the Lord does not become one's leader. So he takes charge of the pure devotees. Desires cannot be wiped out, but they have only to be purified. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that the Lord Himself, by the Lord Himself, that He gives His instruction from within the heart of a pure devotee, who is constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. Such instruction is given not for any material purpose, but only for going back home, back to Godhead. So Krishna is inspiring. Yena mam upiyanti te dadami buddhi yogam tam. Constantly those who are engaged in His service, Desham Satada Yukta Nam, then Krishna is giving the instruction in the heart. For the ordinary man who wants to lord it over material nature, the Lord only sanctions and becomes a witness of activities, but He never gives the non-devotee instructions for going back to Godhead. Because He's not interested in taking those instructions. Why would I tell you something if you're not interested in hearing? Yesterday, Anuttama Prabhu was mentioning that we may speak all the, there may be a powerful radio transmitter transmitting, but if you are not tuned into it, it's all useless for you, right? So similarly, we may speak all the things, but if the person whom we are speaking to is not receptive, then so Krishna is wanting to give instructions, but because we are not receptive, so Prabhupada is saying He does not give them. He never gives the non-devotee instructions for going back to God, because He only wants to enjoy in this material world. That is the difference between the dealings by the Lord with different living beings, both the devotee and the non-devotee. So then how do we say that Krishna, but when they are in difficulty, Krishna puts them into difficulty. And then they become more open to hearing the instructions from Krishna. Generally it's like that, right? Vidura was telling Dhritarashtra. Before also he was telling Dhritarashtra. At that time Dhritarashtra was not getting it. Or he would agree, but it was not going into his heart. And because his situation was nice. His son was the king, Duryodhana was the king, and everything was nice. So, but when he lost everything, and when Vidura came and spoke, then he became receptive. So Krishna creates a situation of distress so that people can hear him. Like that story is there, right? About that. Who is that? They're throwing stones. What is that? They're throwing gifts. What is that story?
Yeah, the king whose gifts below and people come, grab them and leave without
Can you tell
even
what exactly
thanking.
is happening? The king is what? The king is on the
Throwing the
terrace.
gift. Yeah, he's on the top somewhere. I mean, in his house, he's throwing the gifts down. People see them and collect it and then leave without even thanking him. But then he's thinking, oh, these people are so ungrateful. They don't even see who's throwing the gifts. So then one person suggests, now you throw stones. So as people, they come and the stones fell on their head. They see who's throwing the stone. They see up. So what Lal Govind Prabhu was saying in his class is that Krishna gives us so much, we don't acknowledge his gifts. But when he gives suffering, then we see, oh Krishna, oh, I'm in this suffering, help me. There is no atheist in the foxholes, as you say, right? In the suffering situation, who else we can turn to? Everybody turns to God. Dukh mein sumiran sab kare, sukh mein kare na.
I don't, hello Prabhu. I don't think Krishna gives suffering to us, as it is written in Gita, I guess, that once we remember him, then only he take care of us. Otherwise, if we are in the material world, we are into the action and reaction phase, and this is independent. Like Krishna has nothing to do with that action and reaction. So it's like a combination of independent as well as dependent on Krishna. So once we focus on him, he takes care of us. But if we are away from him, he just leave us, and he is like, okay, you take care of yourself, and we are into this material world on the action and reaction. Is it right, Prabhu?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, for that's what Prabhupada is saying here, that he just acts as a witness, and he just acts as for sanctioning. But we say that Krishna has created this material world to reform also all the jivas. So through some misery, of course, that is due to our own karma, because we have all miseries coming because we have turned away from Krishna. So Krishna has created this material world to reform the conditioned souls. So in that way, also Krishna is through miseries of birth, death. Then at some point, the jiva starts, thinking why this is happening to me. Then he may start thinking more about, you know, God, and what is beyond this life, and who am I really. So that way also.
Yeah, I mean, their ego is the one that is stopping them to approach Krishna, because once their ego is gone away, and once they approach Krishna, then Krishna take care of everything, and then their life becomes. But yeah, at the same time, their ego is also there, which says that no, I am the doer, and I'm doing this. So they are trapped into this action and reaction, and that's why they are always in the suffering. But once they remember Krishna, after removing their ego, he takes care of everything, I guess.
Correct. So to remove the ego, Krishna puts all these different situations so that
Yeah.
we can.
He's always helping us in different situations.
Correct.
But our ego is not taking that.
Correct. Yeah. So we can become intelligent by hearing instead of going through. So many people are suffering. We will also suffer, right? So many people have died. We will also die. We will also get old. We will also get diseased. So in that way, if we just take it like that, then we can become intelligent by hearing. So that's what is
Okay,
expected.
you were saying that some people in Florida are going through hurricanes, right? They have been um, dislocated from their homes, and they have lost their property, their homes, everything. So I say similar thing can happen here as well. I mean, hurricanes don't come here, but tornadoes come. So shouldn't wait until that time to realize, oh, this material world is a troublesome place.
Yeah, and
Should
like, yeah, and even if you don't get in the tornado, if you fast forward time, what is coming up, right? If you fast forward 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, then what is coming up is old age, disease, and that is for sure. That is all going to come. And you see old people and see how they are going through so much difficulty. So then we can realize. Because sometimes people may say, well, I never experienced a tornado in my life. But yeah, but we can see our karma can put in any situation also. That's also we don't know. So yeah, so that's learning from others' experience, and then we take shelter of Krishna. The whole thing is that to take shelter of Krishna, so that we can, yeah, miseries we can escape and also feel happiness. So that's what. Okay, we'll finish this purport. I think we are in, okay. Which verse? Okay.
5:36.
Yeah, so let's finish this. Every purport is nice. So thus his mind now became restless, and he began to speak in a spirit of renunciation. So he was thinking, yes, I'm entangled in this king and all these things, material duties. So he became restless. In Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17 it is said, Tyaktva swadharmam charnambujam harir bhajan pakvotha pate tato yadi yatra kvava bhadram abhudamusya kim Ko vartvapto bhajatam swadharmataha. One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage. Yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. So, if one somehow or other comes to the shelter of a great Vaishnava, takes to Krishna consciousness because of sentiment or realization, but in course of time falls down because of immature understandings, is not actually fallen. For his having engaged in Krishna consciousness is a permanent asset. So whatever he has done in bhakti, if one falls down, therefore his progress might be checked for a certain time, but it will again become manifest at an opportune moment. Although Priyavrata Maharaj was serving according to the instructions of Narad Muni, meant for going back home, back to Godhead, he returned to material affairs at the request of his father. In due course of time, however, his consciousness for serving Krishna reawakened, and by the grace of his spiritual master Narad. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 641, Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe Yogo Brashta Abhijayate. One who falls down from the process of Bhakti Yoga is again offered the opulence of the demigods, and after enjoying such material opulence, is given a chance to take birth in a noble family of a pure Brahmana or in a rich family, to be given the chance to revive his Krishna consciousness. This actually happened in the life of Priyavrata. He is a most glorious example of this truth. In due course of time, he no longer wanted to enjoy his material opulences and his wife, kingdom, and sons. Instead, he wanted to renounce them all. Therefore, after having described the material opulences of Maharaj Priyavrata, Shukdev Goswami in this verse describes his tendency for renunciation. The words Devarshi, Charnanu Shayana indicate that Maharaj Priyavrata, having fully surrendered to the great sage Devarshi Narad, was strictly following all the devotional processes and regulative principles under his direction. In regard to strictly following the regulative principles, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Dandavat pranamas tan anupatitaha. By immediately offering obeisances unto the spiritual master and by strictly following his directions, the student becomes advanced. Maharaj Priyavrata was all doing all these things regularly. As long as one is in the material world, he has to be under the influence of the modes of material nature, guna visarga. It is not that Maharaj Priyavrata was freed from material influence because he possessed all material opulence, all, all material opulences. It was not that Maharaj Priyavrata was freed from material influence because he possessed all material opulences. In this material world, both the very poor man and the very rich man are under material influences, for both wealth and poverty are creations of the modes of material nature. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3:27, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha. According to the modes of nature we acquire, the material nature gives us facility for material enjoyment. Okay, so renunciation again came in his heart, and he starts condemning himself in the next verse, which we'll read tomorrow. Like Dhruva Maharaj is condemning himself because he approached the Lord for. But here in this case, actually, he was, I don't know why, because Brahma told him and Vishnu had told that. So, can't understand this part because he was acting under Brahma's direction. But we'll see what Prabhupada says. Okay,